Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Please abiding by AFTERBIRTH plus 1 win in a row. God, I'm good. I'm gonna hit you with some, it's not really real talk. It's YouTube administrative stuff, NCDZ, NZMY. I always, jeez Louise, dude. I don't know if I can even take hemolacria, to be honest with you. Look at these, look at these stats. 0.91 speed, 16 rate of fire, 3.22 damage. I mean, this is garbage. But to take hemolacria will actually make the run substantially worse, at least temporarily in terms of our rate of fire. So I'm not super excited about that. It's gonna be a very interesting style of run for a little bit here. Anyway. I'm not trying to delay what I'm trying to say here. I'm wary about saying things like, we're going to open this episode with real talk. Because I know, there's a proponent of people, or a contingent, yo, that's amazing, of people out there that are like, oh my god, what's happening? It could be anything. I hope that at this point, if you've been watching long enough, you know I'm not going to hit you with, like, some serious news. It's just YouTube admin stuff. I've been thinking for a long time. We've been in a little bit of a valley when it comes to Isaac content. Booster Pack 5 came out like March of 2018. It's been like a year without new Isaac content. Over the course of that year, I've been doing 2 Isaac videos a day. I'm not saying it's a substantial amount of work, but we're probably at the point in the Isaac cycle where we're at like the biggest content drought. So I'm cutting back. My intention, at least, is to cut back on Isaac and do 1 a day. Honestly, I really believe the person most resistant to that change is myself. Once I get settled into a routine, it's a bit of a struggle to get me to break it, and that's a good thing in some ways, because it means that, y'all are getting 2 Isaac a day, every day, for a year, or 8 years, as the case has been. But it also means that, when I look at, not just like metrics, views, comments, etc., etc. But when I look at what people are saying to me, I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know, this has been working, so why change it? But one of the things that people have most commonly expressed, sorry, I got cat hair in my nose, as a constructive criticism for my YouTube channel is play a greater variety of games. I easily, and I agree, by the way, we've been playing like a lot of Isaac, a lot of Slay the Spire recently, and I've already talked about my misgivings about starting like another long strategy-esque series for the time being until I really feel like I'm 100% in. I don't want to go in like 50% excited and then get my squad wiped and be like, well, I'm locked in for another 60 hours of drudgery, right? Anyway, that's beside the point of what's going on in this present video. Anyway, what I definitely... Yo, I'm getting boxed in, dude! What I could easily do is, cut 1 Isaac video a day. Which really, it doesn't mean that I'm cutting 1 a day. It means that I'm cutting 7 a week. That opens up a lot of time for me to be playing new games, Let's Look Ats, and even, like... I've kind of... Oh, dude, I'm gonna die. I'm, like, convinced I'm gonna die. That was just horrendous. Did I play amazingly there? No. But that was also the perfect storm of terrible... a terrible start, obviously. Like, that's not even negotiable. This one's so easy, though. I mean, look at... We got Guppy Item and Tech X. 839Y, 0FHC. I've kind of been to the... I don't watch other YouTubers. So I was talking on my subreddit about it, and I was like, I don't really want to start, like, a new series, and I'm wary about, like, doing a video, and then, maybe, like, 10 episodes after I start doing the video, I don't really have my heart in it anymore, and I don't want to finish the series. And then, like, 100% of the people that replied were like, why don't you do what every other YouTuber does, and, just... make sure you're managing expectations, like come out with the video and be like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play the whole game, but I'll at least give you some variety in terms of gameplay. And then just, talk over it, be entertaining, and when you decide that it's run its course, it's run its course. It's a bit of a departure for sure, but that's what's on my mind right now. So it's definitely not like, screw Isaac. It's, if anything, there's been a lot of Anxiety is not really the right word, but it's the word I'm going to use. Apprehension is what I would prefer to use, because it's not like I go to, I mean, I used to, but I don't really go to sleep at night now with like a cold stone in the pit of my stomach going, you know, what if people stop watching Isaac? You know, I'm extremely fortunate to have been able to, you know, I leaned on Isaac for a long time, and I'm incredibly grateful, and we're still going to be making one a day, but then beyond that, to also just be like, you know, maybe 2-a-days have run their course. I think people are not watching just for Isaac anymore. Here's the thing. Like, can I hit you with some actual real talk? I think that for years, people watched Northernlion because he played Isaac. And at the risk of being a little bit, you know, self-congratulating, I think we're now, the dynamic has changed, where people watch Isaac, and not, let me rephrase. I'm not saying I have become larger than the game, which is how that was going to come across. I think people watch my Isaac videos now because they enjoy the kind of content that I put out, as opposed to what it might have been like in, let's say, you know, 2014, right after Rebirth came out, where they watched my Isaac videos because they liked Isaac. I've tricked them, and, you know, and them is you in this case, into getting into the fold, and now you're, hey, give me some more memes, Eggman, and here we are. And by the way, in case this is not abundantly clear, this is not meant out of disrespect whatsoever for Isaac as a game. Beautiful, amazing, incredible game. That when the DLC comes out, you know we're going back to 2-a-days probably, unless, you know, something changes drastically. But it's more just, I guess the phrase I would use is kind of like sign of the times, you know? It feels so strange for me to be saying this while also still making an Isaac video a day. Bare minimum. But yeah, it's more just like, you know, I think I have to recognize that we've probably reached a point in the game cycle until the DLC comes out, and then probably post the DLC as well. But until the DLC comes out, where I really do, the impression I get from people that talk to me, which is about 6 people on planet Earth, but the impression I get from people that talk to me is that, you know, there was a time where there was new Isaac content. I gotta see it, NL's playing it. Now it's become, I like the way that NL talks. I've seen enough Isaac, but I want to get more of his podcast style dynamics, so I'm going to watch that. Fair enough? Does that sound right? So I'll just let you know. Here's the thing. One of the reasons that you get so many Isaacs a day is that it's time consuming, but very easy. You know, for me to just turn on my video or turn on my screen recorder, play a couple of Isaacs, you know, it might take an hour and a half, but you know, it's a lot harder to come up with variety to play all the time. Not just more expensive, because you're going to end up, you know, buying games. And of course, you know, I could get Steam codes, but it's a time investment, you know, to email the developers and stuff like that. But it's, you know, it's just easy. I'm sure you can relate, you know, if you have like a main video game that you already play, like League of Legends, and then somebody's like, hey, you should check out this Apex Legends game, and you're like, but I'm already good at League. I don't want to go through all that work to, you know, oh, what does the F button do? It pings enemies, you know, you get the idea. Learning the controls and so on. So it's kind of, it's a new endeavor for me. You know, I'm not trying to say that, oh, my heart rate's rising as I say this, because at the end of the day, I'm a 30-year-old man talking about I'm going to play half as much Isaac, but still an equivalent amount of other video games moving forward. So to put it in context, anyway, I'm not even, at this point, I don't feel the need to defend the decision, because I don't think that anybody's actually, I don't think many people are going to be like, screw you, buddy. I need 2 Isaacs a day. I think all I'm going to say is that for those of you who use Isaac to fall asleep, I think, you know, if you move to another sleep aid, so be it, but I think if you watch other content on the channel, you can use that as a wonderful sleep aid as well. Slay the Spire, for example. A lot of droning, a lot of dun 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 dun. If I can fall asleep to shows about murder, you can fall asleep to me playing Tetris 99, is all I'm saying. So the last thing I'm going to say is that, man, a lot of active items. Not complaining about our lot in life, of course, here, but the last thing I'm going to say is that you shouldn't expect you shouldn't expect 7 Isaac videos a week to be replaced with 7 other videos a week. Because the amount of work that goes into an Isaac episode is a lot less than the amount of work that goes into playing anything new. And we can mitigate that to some extent by, you know, not really doing our due diligence in advance of playing the game on the channel, but I don't know if I want to sacrifice that just for the sake of, you know, getting the content mill going, if you know what I mean. But, you know, I think that it will be more engaging for a greater variety of people. That's my opinion. I mean, it is kind of like a business decision, but I also think psychologically, like, you know, I've played enough Isaac to not have to play 14 runs a week. As much as I love the game, and I do love the game itself, what I've come to love the most about Isaac is that it's such second nature at this point that it gives me an opportunity to really let the stream of consciousness flow. So I think I'm emotionally ready to go to 1 a day, which we were at for a long time, by the way. Like for a couple of years, we were doing 1 Isaac a day. It's really, if anything, I just hit a kind of a gulf of content last year and was like, well, we could always just, well, you know, times are thin. We could always just do a second Isaac to fill up some time. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I know I phrased it like, you know, this is me ending the Isaac series, when really it's, you know, I'm only going to be producing 3.5 hours of it a week minimum, but you get the idea. So take this as a positive notice that the intention is for there to be more variety in the future, which is something that a lot of people have asked for. And sometimes that variety will be a new game, you know, 4 times a week being played for 45 minutes or half an hour or something. And sometimes maybe it'll be like, hey, you know, this new multiplayer game came out, and I'm a big fan of it, so, you know, maybe we'll do 6 or 7 episodes of it. Here's the thing. I became, the way that you build your community is going to shape the way that you think you have to act in the future, I guess is what I'm going to say. You know, I've constructed my YouTube channel in response to the way that my audience has grown, but it's also influenced the way my audience behaves. So now, what do you get out of NL? Roguelikes and, you know, encapsulated series. And I'm actually, you know, I have to say I've done a really good job, if I may toot my own horn, of bucking the idea that I don't finish series anymore. There was like 4 or 5 years. Oh, what's the point of him even starting this series? He's not going to finish it. And I think that mentally, that I'm not going to say it took a toll on me, but it influenced within me the idea that, you know, if you ever play a video on your channel and it's not branded as a let's look at, you better finish that series. So I'm kind of just what's the word? Reappraising maybe would be a decent word. Reappraising the way that I want to approach content in the future, and kind of getting myself out of what I wouldn't describe as a slump, but I would describe, even though it's like my least favorite paradigm, as working hard but not smart. I think it would be smarter for me to apply the same amount of work that I already do, and, you know, my work ethic has never really been an issue on YouTube. Take that level of effort, but be a little bit more clever about it. Basically, stop being strategically lazy by leaning on inertia and going like, well, people are going to be really mad if they don't get 2 Isaacs every day. And start recognizing that, you know, I mean, at this point, it really has come down to the idea that I hope none of this sounds negative, because I mean it quite the opposite. I mean it as a huge positive. I think I've got the self-confidence to recognize and have internalized that people are watching content not just for the game but for me. And, you know, for a long time, that was not the way. It wasn't like I was like, yeah, I'm getting one over on them. But, you know, the way that I kind of thought about it was, you know, I got to play stuff that people want to watch. And I still think that's true, but I think that in this case, people would rather watch something that's not Isaac twice per day. You know what I mean? Like, think of the news. There's people who watch the news twice a day. But most people who watch the news just watch the evening news. Maybe they listen to it on the radio in the car, you know? The rest of the time, they're watching live with Regis and... Wait, that has not been on the air for about 15 years. They're watching The View. There you go. So that's my thoughts on the subject. Again, I think it's a good thing. I'm in the best place I've been in a long time when it comes to, like, having the skeleton to change what I'm doing on YouTube. Now, I swear to God, if Nicholas releases the Isaac DLC, like, in a month, I'm not gonna be mad because it's new content. But simultaneously, I'm gonna be like, really? You made me, you know, just when I was like, well, it's been a year of waiting for the DLC. Maybe time to move on to something else. By the way, it's coming out. So you can get the Sega Saturn in stores right now. Don't you dare. I mean, not you, you know, the publisher. You can do whatever you please. I meant that bomb, don't you dare. Anyway, I think it's a good thing. So all I'm going to say is don't think that that means like, oh boy, because of there being no Isaac, or, you know, one Isaac per day, that he's going to have the space to do an XCOM 2 series. Maybe. I mean, I would love to play XCOM 2. I just wish that it were not a 30 to 40 hour commitment. Instead, think of it like, you know, a good example, and I don't think there's going to be much content of this, but a good example would be like, hey, because he's not recording, you know, close to 14 hours of Isaac content on a weekly basis, you know, he could pop up a couple, you know, 1 or 2 off Tetris 99 videos, or maybe, you know, some multiplayer Apex Legends. You know, it doesn't mean that you're gonna see battle royales every single day on the channel, but, you know, maybe for a lot of people, they'd rather see a couple of games of Apex Legends with some of the members of the crew than see a game of Isaac for that day. You get the general gist of it. Just more, I mean, there's still gonna be Isaac, is the thing. It's just, instead of 2 of those a day, something a little bit, you know, more varied. I mean, there has to come a point where there's just been enough Isaac. Enough Isaac to justify cutting the amount of it in half, at least. Anyway. Don't even hit me up with your suggestions. I feel like for a while, I won't even have trouble filling the space. We got Smash. We got Apex. We got Tetris 99. We could do some Slay the Spire dailies. I know we got another problem with variety on that behalf, but, you know, I'm just saying, if we're feeling the pull of Apex, we could always play a little bit more of that. I could show you how bad I am at Wargroove. There's a new fishing game on the Switch as well. I mean, there's stuff that comes out every week that, to be honest with you, I've kind of just, like, mind-flooded myself out of being like, well, I'd like to play it, but I don't have the time, because I am 100% convinced and have to play 2 Isaacs a day. You get the idea. I think it's going to be a good thing. We're on Necropolis 2. This is like the fastest run I've seen in my entire life. So we could take Isaac's heart and then immediately, like, we would never have to worry about this blood bank. Everything would be free for us, of course, but yeah, I'm not going to do that because I think it's a terrible item and I hate it. I'm excited, you know? Something's got to change on YouTube for sure. You know, I think it's a positive thing to add a little bit more variety. It also shows you care. Like, I've never not cared about my YouTube channel, but I find myself getting annoyed because people are like, the YouTube channel is just a repository for Twitch VODs. And I'm like, I gotta be the only dude on YouTube that's publishing 3 or 4 new videos a day specifically recorded for the platform. And people are like, there's nothing but Twitch VODs on here. But I recognize, you know, at first, despite being mad, you know, I took a second and I thought about it. I said, these are people that, you know, they enjoy your content. They just want to see new things. And if the perception is that is just the Twitch VOD, I don't want to say dumping ground, but a nicely organized assortment of Twitch VODs, then that's a perception problem that I have a certain amount of control over. And I see it as like a win-win. It's not like the community's forcing me to play less Isaac. It's really like, you know what? Maybe this is a stressor. I don't mean in a way that it causes stress. I mean in a way that it applies pressure. You know, people that support me are like, hey, play something new. And I'm like, you know what? I think I might be ready to slot some new stuff in. So I appreciate it. I don't like what we got going on here. I do like the sprinkler. Yeah, you know what? I think the sprinkler will be a cool setup for us here. Let's see how it works. Okay, so it shoots out incredibly small Tech X shots. Probably important to note, we want to put that in the center of any given room. Anyway, I mean, this whole episode at this point has basically been talking about this subject, so you get the idea. It's not a huge administrative change, you know? There'll still be an Isaac a day. And instead we'll toss some more new stuff up on the channel as well, because I hear you. You know, it's like when you're dehydrated, you're looking flat, and then you drink like a liter of water, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, I got my turgor pressure back. You know, as soon as there's something that's not Isaac that goes up on the channel, people are like, they suck it up. So I'm eager to play some. I'm eager to play some more. That's all I'm gonna say about that. You know, I think it's a good thing. But now I'm struggling to come up with an anecdote to fill the rest of the episode with. That's the other thing, is that I actually feel like Isaac episodes might become a little bit more densely packed with anecdotes as a result of doing half as many. The other thing is, though, there's like a weird, I don't know, like a good commentary on an Isaac episode is lightning in a bottle. I don't put a lot of pressure on myself regarding it. I take like a pretty lackadaisical attitude to some extent. Like, I try to be entertaining, but sometimes you hit a vein that is perfect, and you're like, I can mine this for like 15 minutes and it's gonna be entertaining the whole way through. And sometimes you finish an episode and you're like, I don't really even remember what I talked about. And sometimes, you know, the best episodes are you just do one on any given day, and sometimes the best episode is the 9th one you recorded that day. So I'm not gonna, maybe the episodes will get substantially worse, and I'll be terribly out of practice. But you get the general idea of the whole situation. It's weird. Like, I guess if we're gonna make this a whole like YouTube Real Talk episode, it really, what I touched on earlier, you know, that's why it's good to talk, because I had never really considered this, but I think that it's actually true. You know, my YouTube philosophy had been like, people watch for the game. So, you know, play the stuff that people want to watch. If they have a voracious appetite for Isaac, just keep pumping out that Isaac, and they'll stick around for a long time. And that, I mean, largely has been the case. It's if anything, has been surprising to me to have to come to the sober realization that, against my better judgment, I've tried to make myself a detestable human being with terrible opinions, who is not a good storyteller or conversationalist, and has a very underdeveloped juvenile sense of humor, and yet people are like, nah, play something else, we're watching for you, we're not watching for the game. You know, it's flattering, but okay, well, maybe laid it on a little too thick. You get the idea, though. It's nice, is what I'm trying to say. They're happy tears. So, you know, these are not happy tears when you fight the matriarch. These are sad tears. I'm trying to get larger shots out of the sprinkler, but I think the sprinkler just shoots however it's gonna shoot. Dude, can you please give me a deal with the devil? We got real guppy hours happening here. I want to see it happen, but it's not happening so far. Plus, may I, by the way, if you're a YouTube viewer, I have respect for you that I think a lot of people have lost. You know, I really do feel like a lot of people have thrown the baby out with the bathwater and been like, you know, the policy changes that YouTube has enacted on the platform, sometimes they've been, let me start by arguing the opposite, I guess, but some of them have been necessary. Like the fact that now when you upload a video, it's like, hey, are there kids in your video? Make sure that you're not doing anything stupid, and also you're complying with local labor laws. You know, I'm not saying that that's a good thing, that they have to put that there. And, you know, it is one of the situations that I lean on most heavily when I'm annoyed with YouTube, is that the actions of a few bad actors end up impacting the entire platform, including for people who have, you know, maintained good standing throughout their entire career on it. But simultaneously, I do also understand, it's not like YouTube has that much of a choice. You know, when you get a bunch of negative press about like, hey, this guy like hit his kid in a YouTube video. You know, they gotta do something. I don't know if this is the right idea, but I'm not offended that I get a little pop-up every time I upload a video that's like, hey, make sure, you know, you're not exploiting labor in this video. You know, it's just a sign of the times. But I think, you know, there was a period, probably at this point, it's like 2 years ago, where the tide started to turn for creators, and, you know, it became slightly more inhospitable on YouTube for content creators, and I understand. Let me take their side temporarily, okay? It's a really anxiety-inducing industry to be in, because a lot of the people that do what I do, and I count myself here, we don't really have like a fallback plan, you know? yes, I do have a college degree, but I haven't done anything with it. You know, I graduated 9 years ago. With honors, I might add. But, and, you know, I'm taking the programming classes, but, you know, I'm basically starting from zero if things were to go completely belly up. So it's anxiety-inducing, and if you're, you know, eking out an okay existence on YouTube, and then the platform is like, hey, you know, a third of your videos are all of a sudden subject to demonetization, I understand why there's that anxiety and why you would want to, like, jump ship to a platform that seems more creator-friendly. And I do think Twitch has been more creator-friendly, for sure, over the past few years. But I also think, you know, a lot of people, and it's tough to say, and it's a little selfish to say, but I think a lot of people were just kind of done with the, like, YouTube, the pattern of YouTube work, and also YouTube culture is a little bit different. You know, you definitely tend to take more flack in YouTube comments than you would on a Twitch stream, and it's harder to moderate. And I think for a lot of people, they were like, okay, well, you know, if YouTube doesn't want me, then I'm just gonna leave, you know, and I'll do everything on Twitch in this day and age. And I've really tried. I've really tried to maintain a balance, and I think I've been largely, believe it or not, successful in doing that. But I do think that YouTube gets a bad rap. I mean, me, Dan, and Mathis were talking about it. We're like, you know, YouTube has had problems, for sure. I think they've had a few bad years, especially in the public eye. And they've enacted some changes that were bad for creators, for sure. All I'm going to say, and I'm not, you know, I know I run the risk of taking the pro-corporate side, is a caricature of me that I have to recognize must be based at some point in fact. But my personal belief is that I imagine YouTube would probably not have had, if they had the choice, they would have rather not had the adpocalypse either. But I don't want to say it's out of their control. All I'm going to say is some very prominent creators on the platform got a lot of media attention for doing some things that would probably be seen as bare minimum controversial. And I can understand that if you're I can understand the knockdown effect, or the knock-on effect. Let's put it that way. You're Coca-Cola, and you're like, well, you know, we've been running ads on these videos without realizing that it's potentially content that we don't want associated with our brand. And then if you're YouTube and by extension Google, that makes a large proportion of its, you know, annual revenue from advertising, you're like, well, we can't afford to scare major brands. Now, I'm not even talking about YouTube Rewind. They're you know, increasingly trying to sand off the edges of the content that they promote, and, you know, how it's gone from being like a little bit more of a, you know, it was, for a while, it was kind of like, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it was kind of punk. It was like, the attitude that I had in like 2012 was literally like, if you had passion and enthusiasm, and you could work consistently on YouTube, you could find an audience, you know, and I don't really necessarily feel like that's the case anymore. But that's for creators, that's not necessarily for viewers, right? But I still think that a lot of y'all have been disrespected by creators that you enjoyed in the first place. And, you know, after supporting them on YouTube for years, you know, it wasn't at the first sign of things being bad, but like at the, you know, second or third sign of things being bad, they were like, I'm out of here. I'm going to a new platform. So long, and thanks for all the fish. And that's not necessarily fair to the creators who left, because, you know, they got to do right by themselves as well. But I'm just saying, me, Dan, and Mathis have been talking, and we all kind of share a similar opinion that YouTube's been having some problems. But, you know, there's still a lot of good stuff there, and a lot of good people that only watch you on YouTube, and I want to cater to them as well, as long as I have, you know, breath in my lungs, to phrase it in literally the most dramatic way possible. So, you know, that's my 2 cents on the subject. Man, I don't really like these items. Hey, somebody on Twitter was like, I miss the NL that took Bob's brain. Here's looking at you, kid. This one's for you. And at this point, I'm not even apologizing, because I'm always like, nobody wants to hear about this. And then when I publish the episodes, people are like, I love the inside baseball. And then some people are like, go back to talking about Crazy Town. And I'm like, yeah, I wish, dude. Didn't come up in my mind in this episode. But yeah, I'm not trying to be the, you know, the YouTube defender has logged on. All I'm saying is, you know, I've been fortunate to have an audience that has stuck with me through some changes, both on my own content side and on the YouTube, infrastructure side. And I definitely, I have appreciation for that, and I want to show that appreciation by at least demonstrating that I have a commitment to producing new and varied content for the YouTube channel. That's basically what it comes down to. You've suffered through Isaac for years and years. The golden age is upon us. And it really is, to be honest, it's the way that the two platforms feed into each other. Talk more about corporate synergy, NL. No, but people, and again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Over the past 2 or 3 months, people have been like, it's been a really good era for content. And you know what? It's been, what has been the spirit of the quote-unquote new golden age of content? Variety, feeling no longer as beholden to the idea that on the NLSS we have to play exactly the same subset of games. Team Unity switching from PUBG to not exclusively Battle Royales, and as a result, opening up a new kind of chapter in the dynamic that we have together and really helping us work together better, I think, as opposed to just being largely stressed out, interspersed with occasional but all too infrequent periods of jubilation. And that kind of I guess it opened my eyes a little bit, that people were, along with comments specifically saying, please give us more variety, the idea that maybe my commitment to playing the same stuff over and over, and the unique sort of, I don't know, twisted brain nature I've got going on that allows me to play the same games over and over and over without getting excessively bored and burned out, maybe that was an asset for a long time and is now actively working against the enjoyment of myself and my audience. Which doesn't mean that the content's not enjoyable, but just that there's room for improvement. So that's my take on it. I think I've given a relatively mature, version of how I see it. And I'm interested in what your thoughts are, legitimately. Not just like, hey, please post comments. I'm actually going to let you roast me here. Not just like, hey, please post comments so that, I can feel good about my decision. But let me know how you feel. I really don't think there's going to be a lot of people who are like, this is dumb and I hate it. There's very, very few people who are like, please make more Isaac. There's probably going to be a subset of people, and I don't think they're, in the wrong, who are going to be like, I'm disappointed that there's not going to be as much Isaac, but I hope that those people, will continue to watch one Isaac a day, and then also give other content a chance. But I really do feel like, in my gut, my sentiment and my hunch is that the vast majority of people are going to be like, thank you for the new variety. Either way, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about the proposed content changes, and I'll see you next time. See ya.